Right, this is called converting people into bingo, the Einsteiniano, basically, but converting people into being clowns. And what I'm referring to is this, what I'm getting from a Pencho valet about this, and it's this little bit here, that little bit. For further details about everything else he says, you can go there to this site here. So I'm just picking up this little bit here which highlights things. Go back to it. Right. So one of the main videos we'll be referring to is this one. It's about people being converted into a clown, and according to Pencho, there's a clear example of the conversion of normal people into thoughtless zombies, and that's illustrating it. Initially, Joe Wolf, that's a physics teacher, tells his students, that's the students doing physics, initially Joe Wolf students are sure that the speed of light cannot be the same with differently moving observers, but in the end all of them get the name bingo, the Einsteiniano. So initially physics students understand that the speed of light cannot be the same for different moving observers. Being imposed on them by a physics teacher false claims. So it's a conversion process into being a clown by believing things that are false. So we go here, that site there, that is this bit here, this bit is from that site, and we go to that, and there, from this site, the weirdness and the logic of the principle and invariance of the speed of light, and it's University of New South Wales. I've gone into a bit more details about this particular site on my other video here, which is called Weirdness and the Logic of the Light Speed Invariance. But I'm just picking up on this little bit this time, and if we're going down, what's happening is this person's moving in their spaceship, and this person is observing them, and they're doing measurements of the speed of light and saying what it is. So after going through all this other stuff above, students who have been told all this stuff about the speed of light, and this is their reaction. At this stage, many of my students say things like, the invariance of the speed of light among observers is impossible, or I can't understand it. Well, it's not impossible, it's even more than possible, it is true. So basically, the reaction to being told all this stuff up here about the speed of light, about how she measures it as C and how he measures it as C, well, that's doesn't make any sense whatsoever, and that's the initial reaction to it. It doesn't make sense, but the teacher is telling them no, that's the way it is. So if we go down to Pencho, this is what Pencho's saying it. Pencho's quoting that bit there. So the teacher goes on, there is something that has been extensively measured, and many refinements to the Michelson-Morley experiment and complementary experiments have confirmed this invariance to very great precision. As to understanding it, there isn't really much to understand. However surprising and weird it may be, it is the case. It's the law in our universe. The fact of the invariance of C doesn't take much understanding. Right. And Pencho's comment on what this teacher is saying. Students' initial reaction is quite correct. The variability of the speed of light is almost obvious. So the initial reaction is that it's impossible, what the teacher has just told them. But the teacher just insists to the students that what he's told them is correct. And basically he's just talking nonsense, basically, the teacher. And he's saying about the experiments, such as the Michelson-Morley experiment, confirm what he's saying, which is false. It doesn't. So he makes false claims. He's telling them nonsense about this, and then he's making a false claim that is confirmed by experiments. And part of the confusion is highlighted down here is, and I've highlighted that in this other video in more detail, the weirdness in the logic of light speed and variance. So for this, the person in their spaceship, and this person is observing it, and the whole issue on this bit centres on, he measures the speed of light from her headlights as C, and it's this person here as he, and it's these headlights here and the light's coming from it, and they're saying it is C. And then he goes on, this is the teacher, goes on, no, not C plus V, but just C. So this is when he starts going on to the nonsense. So the whole issue here is, where does the measurement of the speed of light come from? If you've got a moving point, this is moving. If you're moving it, making a measurement from here, this is moving along. So you're making from a moving point. So if you're making, instead, say you're taking a point over here, and you're making a measurement from here, from a stationary point, it's different to what you get from if you're deciding to take it from here to here. You're taking it from a moving point, and that's where it all centres upon, that the physics students are being told nonsense. They're not being told properly of how you deal with this, and of course they then, having messed this up, then carry on to mess up experiments as well. So when they start saying, oh, it's confirmed by experiment, well, actually what they've done is they've not told you whether this person is making a measurement from a stationary point or from a moving point. They've not told you, so they're making that mess here, and they're then making the mess in the experiments they do as well. So it's all messed up, and of course I go into it in more detail in this video here. There are other people like Glenn A. Baxter who pick up on this as well, and they put on articles about it, such as this one, a new unique frame, reference frame, and the approximate void, and he's put this on the 16th of October 2015. Unfortunately, when he talks about it, he's coming up with things which are not really precisely defined. He says, a light propagates through the void with no need for a medium other than the void itself. Well, it's sort of, he's trying to use the word like void, and you kind of like, well, what does that precisely that mean? And you have to get a bit more into trying to understand what he's saying, what the terms he's using, but it is still basically saying the same sort of thing. They are all wrong because they are based on incorrect equating of C with C prime, and that's basically in the scenario we got here is what's going on here. This person can make two different light speed measurements he can make it from a moving point, and he can make it from, say, a stationary point here. So you're equating two different measurements of how you can make light speed from a moving point or a stationary point, and that is based to a large extent what Glenn Baxter is saying. You're equating two different measurements of the speed of light, but you've got to go into a lot more detail of the peculiarity of the way he's defining things, because he's talking about here an absolute frame, ether and so forth, and so precisely what he's meaning by these terms you've got to go into more detail and read. But it's basically is making that point when applied to that situation of you're messing up the light speed measurement, you're messing up the maths. So having told students something that's false, they then insist, as we go down here, that what they told them is correct. We pick it up from here back to here, pointing that back on here. At this stage, many of you can say things like, the events of the speed of light among observers is impossible, or can't understand it. So that initial reaction is correct. They've just been told a load of nonsense. But the teacher will then carry on and insist that they are correct, that the teacher is correct. The teacher won't accept the objections. And so if the students then carry on with their physics course and actually believe what the teacher is telling them, they are then converted into believing things that are nonsense. And the process is basically converting them into a clown believing in nonsense. and the sort of process can be illustrated by this.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Bingo. Excuse me? Hi, Bingo. Bingo? Bingo. Bingo the clown. I'm not...
So basically we could think of this as a student, and the clown has come on, and that's the teacher, and the teacher is telling him nonsense. Poor student here has been subjected to nonsense.
Bingo. Hi, Bingo. Bingo the clowno. But I'm Bingo. Not. Bingo. Bingo the clowno. But I'm not. Hi, Bingo!
Music, please!
Hi.
Hi, Bingo.
But I'm not Bingo.
He's coming, you know,
He's coming?
to check on your progress.
Who's coming? Who's coming? Bingo?
You're Bingo! Bingo! Bingo the clowno!
But...
Here he comes. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Bingo.
But I'm not Bingo.
Music, please!
So what we have here is, if we're treating this as a student, he's being bombarded with nonsense, and he's trying to resist the nonsense, but he's just getting continually bombarded with nonsense.
Please stop the music.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Bingo. But I'm not Bingo. Were you looking at my money? No, 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 not at all, no. Good. Would you like to? No. I don't know. You know, I really don't. Yes. Yes, actually, I would. I would like to look at your money. I really would. I really, really would. Can I look at your money? Good. You're a good little Bingo. Aren't you? No! I don't know. I don't think so.
So he's been resisting the nonsense. They're telling him that he's a Bingo the clown. He's been resisting, and now he's been subjected to so much nonsense he's starting to doubt himself.
Come on.
Music, please.
Maybe I am Bingo.
Bingo?
Yes, Bingo.
Bingo. Bingo the clown?
Bingo the clown. Bingo, Bingo the clowno. I am Bingo. I'm Bingo. Bingo the clowno. Bingo. Bingo the clown. I'm Bingo. That's me. That's me.
So they've converted him now. The education system has bombarded him with nonsense, and he's been converted to believe in nonsense. So that's it. Bombarded with nonsense and converted into a clown to believe the nonsense. And that's basically what you've got here. So on here, the weirdness and the logic, the principle of the special principle of the speed of light. You start off simply enough. You've got something like a spaceship. We're coming back. The spaceship is emitting light. She's measuring it. He's measuring it. You mess up. You make a mess here. However, by saying things like, he measures the speed of light from her red light to see this person. You don't say, are you measuring it from a moving point or a stationary point? You just confuse all that. You carry on talking. You then go on to other details like, well, consider if the person in the spaceship is shooting an arrow, or whether the person in the spaceship is blowing a horn. You go on to diversions, and eventually the students go, right, we get back to this again. Eventually the students say, students are saying here, it's impossible, or I can't understand it. They're resisting the nonsense they've been bombarded to. The teacher insists that it's possible and true, makes false claims about experiments, and just continually bombards them with more and more nonsense. And in order to pass the course, you then have to accept what they're saying. All the nonsense they've bombarded you with, you have to accept it if you want to pass, and you then get converted into Bingo the clown.
Bingo. Bingo the clown?
Bingo the clown. Bingo, Bingo the clowno. I am Bingo. I'm Bingo. bingo.
converted into believing nonsense. And that's the typical physics student, bombarded with total nonsense, and that's it. They just get converted. I'll go into more details here about the weirdness of the nonsense they're telling you, but of course it is a total bombardment of nonsense. And so the education system starts chucking out people who believe nonsense, and that's how bad it is. Pages and pages of nonsense. They got words for it. They got Galileo's principle of relativity and Einstein's principle of special relativity, and on you go. You just make more and more of a mess. Go into time dilation, length contraction, more and more nonsense. And you just start off by nonsense like that. He measures the speed of light from her headlights at sea. This person, you just start from nonsense like that. Something like that, you're not clearly explained to the person, are you talking about a moving point or a stationary point? And then you start making false claims about, oh, it's been shown by experiment. No, just false claims about experiment. If you go into the experiment, details about the experiment, all this is just nonsense. Any experiment going by that, that's just nonsense.